All right. So, welcome everyone to Ed 676 at Arcadia, Teacher Practice in a Connected World. I'm really honored and humbled that you're taking a chance on a new instructor and a new course, and that you're willing to try things like Google Hangouts on air at the last moment. So it shows a lot of flexibility and curiosity and courage on your part. And over the next several weeks, I'm really looking forward to learning with you and learning from you, and also sharing some of my thinking about what teaching and learning can possibly look like in 2014 and beyond. So, welcome. Could we possibly start with introductions? Could you please share your name? If you're currently in the classroom, what and where do you teach? And who do you teach? And could you also share why you decided to take this class? And it's okay if you just say, like, I just needed a class and I signed up. I don't really care. Whatever you want to share. So could we have anybody who wants to start, and then the rest of you will go.
I
I
can
can.
start off.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. My name's Thanu Abraham, and I'm not currently teaching in a classroom right now. I'm actually looking for a job, but I just finished student teaching, and I was interested in this class after talking to my advisor and talking about my interest in connected learning, and I would just love to learn more about it. And
Okay.
I actually heard Minu in one of my previous classes. She spoke at one of my previous classes, and I was just interested in taking a class with her.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking it and being here tonight.
hmm
My name is Sandy. I am a high school learning support teacher. This is my first year teaching learning support. Previous to having my children, I taught English as a second language for 6 years and took quite a long time off. And I'm back into the classroom now.
Okay. And Sandy, where do you teach?
Um, I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and my school is Manheim Central High School.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sandy.
hmm
I can go next.
Um, oh,
You can go.
okay. My name's Rachel. I am currently not in the classroom, but I am an SAT and ACT tutor for high school students in the area. I had Kira Baker Doyle for ED 601 in the fall, and she strongly recommended this course and said it would be great for me to take, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, I'm Lizzie Wierzeniak. I'm a math teacher at Cheltenham High School, right across from Arcadia, and I teach Algebra 1 and Geometry, so it's mostly ninth and 10th graders. Um, Before that, I taught at Germantown High School for like half of a year before
Okay.
it closed.
Okay.
Um, and I took this class because I heard about the Connected Learning Cert at the open house in the fall, and then I actually saw an article in the notebook about you and the class, so that kind of solidified it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking a chance on this and on me.
Sure.
I guess I'll go next.
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jillian Coyne. I'm currently a third grade teacher in Abington School District, which is not too far from
Yeah.
where Arcadia is. I actually went to Arcadia for my undergrad, where I received my bachelor's in elementary ed, and then I decided to go back for my master's soon after. I've been teaching for 7 years. I taught in Cheltenham for 2 years at one of the elementary schools, but I've been in Abington for the last 5 years. And I am a general education teacher. However, I co-teach with the autistic support teacher. So every year I have anywhere from 2 to 4 children with autism in my class, and it's a great collaborative partnership that I have with her. And I decided to take this course. I knew I wanted to take a technology course for my master's in language arts. So I reached out to Kira and asked her what she would suggest, and she thought that this would be a great course for me to take. And I'm really excited based on some of the research that I've been doing, looking, around the internet for information. And I actually have a friend who is currently doing his dissertation in connected learning, which I had no idea about until I told him I was taking this class. So it's pretty cool that I have that connection with him, and I can discuss this with him as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the introductions. So I love the range from elementary to high school and all the different ways that we're working and supporting students in and out of the school setting. And I think there's possibility to learn a lot from each other. I'm just throwing this out there. We don't have to make this so formal, but if anybody wants to jump into the Google Doc and take some notes tonight for the good of the group or for yourself, I'm going to probably be busy like showing some stuff about the class and leading the discussion a little bit, and I probably won't be the best person for the note taking. So I'm throwing that out there if you'd like to do that. So if you have your browser open and if you can go to Blackboard for a moment, I just want to quickly review where things are. I also want to apologize for the Arcadia email trouble that I had. Both the tech people and I thought the email was properly set up, but it wasn't until today. And so I got a bunch of your emails and I was late in responding. Usually, for good or bad, I'm always connected, so you'll get a response from me right away. And the best way to reach me, if you have any questions about the course, is through email. So regarding that, if you go to Blackboard for a second, I'll probably use announcements quite frequently. Hopefully I won't abuse that, but just to keep you abreast of things that are happening each week, please make sure you look at the announcements. Under the course information, there's a contact information where you can reach me via email. And then the class has been really broken up into 5 main sections, and this week's theme, I guess, is mentoring and mentorship. And hopefully you've had a chance to look at the assignment, look at the Atlantic article, the Thrive introduction and the forward that's available on Amazon, and also in the link that I will that I shared in the Google Doc on our Hangout, and then the connected learning summary. Looking ahead to next week, some of the things that I'm hoping that we'll encounter next week will include asking you to start a blog and then consider some of the ways that you are already plugged into networks or some of the networks that you might want to take part in, and then really starting your interaction with the online community that exists for teachers, and taking some time to get to know it, whether you want to actively participate or if you just want to observe from afar and sort of reflect on the ways that it has the potential for helping teachers. Hopefully the readings for next week are going to be interesting. I have some really cool ideas for next week. There's a professor named Adam Grant at University of Pennsylvania School of Wharton. He's also the main organizational expert for Google. He's the youngest tenured professor at Wharton, and he wrote this book called Give and Take, and it's about how when people think about helping other people in their network, they see it as this like additional thing that they're doing that takes away their time and energy. But his argument is when you actually do both give and take in a network, it actually makes the network better and actually improves your own work. And we're going to read the first chapter from his book, um, and then the second, and then I'm sorry, the first chapter from Thrive, and then I'm also going to always try to include some sort of like multimedia piece because I know everybody doesn't learn by just reading chapters and articles, so I'll try to find a relevant video as well, which will be included to hopefully push your thinking and probe your thinking around the idea of joining and building networks. So that's the preview of next week. If you haven't had a chance to do so, the main text for our class here, PHLY/Thrive, which is my first book from Heinemann, Thrive, 5 Ways to Reinvigorate Your Teaching. It's on Amazon, it's on Heinemann's site, however you feel comfortable, please get it. But in the meantime, the chapter 1 of Thrive is available on the link that I shared in the Google Doc. And if you want to go download that chapter, that will be the one of the readings for next week as well. So that's sort of the preview of the upcoming week. And then really like rest of the time, I want to spend hearing from you, like your thoughts on the readings from this week, questions, concerns, moments of confusion, and I hope that this is going to be more like a dialogue amongst all of us and not just me like talking at you because that's not that interesting. So are there any questions about the overview of this week, preview of next week, and some of the logistical things you need to know in order to kick off the class? Are there any questions about that?
I have a question. You said that you just shared something in the Google Doc. Where can that be accessed?
Yeah, so if you're looking at your screen on the left-hand side, you'll see a yellow, green, blue triangle that says Google Drive. Do you see that?
Yes.
Please click on that, and you should see a Google Doc where we're taking notes. You'll see the agenda. Do you see it?
It's just white.
I had to click on a little icon that's on the left.
Me too.
Which one?
It's, not on the sidebar where the Google Drive icon was. Actually, in the document.
Oh, does that say Hangout Notes? Is that it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Hangout Notes.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
No, not a problem. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the connected learning reading? Do you want to start with the Atlantic reading? Do you want to jump around a little bit? Do you have questions or comments that you want to share?
I actually have a general question.
Sure.
You mentioned that we need to make a blog.
Mm-hmm.
What platform do you prefer we use to do that?
I don't have a preference for a platform. I'm going to ask you to just submit a link, and I'll be able to follow your link. You know, I'll just use a reader that pulls your entries, and if you want to use WordPress, use WordPress. If you want to use Blogger. Whatever you feel comfortable using, feel free to use that. I don't get hung up on tools. I want to think how the tools can add to learning or add to us learning from each other. I'm open to whatever platform you want to use.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
If we have a blog that
Already exists?
from
Yeah.
another class,
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
continue to use that for this class?
Yes.
Okay.
Please use it, and then just submit entry, each week, and then that way I'll know. Like send me an email and be like, hey, this is what I wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we've never done a blog before, is it pretty self-explanatory? I don't know much about it, so.
It's okay. One of us can help you if you want to stay, a few minutes after this hangout. Like I can help you. If you want to see what a block could possibly look like and how non-threatening and how simple and reflective the writing can be for a teacher. If you go to my website, minurami.org, I'm currently doing 100 words for 100 days challenge for myself, just to push myself to write. So I'm trying to write every day, and
Okay.
it's sometimes like 99 words I get out, and then I write things, and that's 100 words. So it's not, yeah, it's more about I think the idea, I think I find blogging to be powerful because it forces me to think back on what happened today. How did things go? Or what connections am I making across all these different things that I'm doing? So it's more about the pausing and the thinking than even the writing or like I don't even know if anyone's reading it. Like I mean, I see site statistics, but like who cares, right? Like, who cares how many hits you get? It's more about like the act of doing that I think is so important.
Okay.
Okay. So, why don't we? So you guys are being like a bit reluctant, which is fine. It's our first hangout, and it's being recorded, and it's kind of awkward. And it's pretty cool. So why don't we start with the Atlantic article because I think for me it really sets up how I felt when I started teaching, how like lonely and isolated I felt. So I'm curious about your own experiences. Maybe how are you feeling right now, or how have you felt in the past, and in what ways have you felt connected or disconnected from your school community or a larger educational community?
I can start. Um, I thought the article, it also resonated with me. I got a little worried because at one point they kind of started talking about Common Core, and I thought it was like insinuating that having common curriculum would somehow be the solution, which I was like, I don't know about that. But then it kind of veered back to like just talking about how important like collaboration is, not just within your school, but with like the world. And I mean, I think something that it didn't really say that I've experienced was when I taught in Philly, having common planning time was like built into our schedule, so all the math teachers would meet, and I felt more connected to the teachers there for the very short amount of time I was there compared to being at Cheltenham for my second year. So I feel like having the time, just like, not that you have to find it yourself, but giving teachers time built into their schedule to plan collectively is important.
Absolutely.
I agree. I co-teach two English classes. Um, I am a learning support teacher, but I'm also certified English, so I co-teach where a lot of my students are, and we have no prep time together. My prep time is completely opposite of when the English teachers are. So, we're doing 5 minutes in the hallway, here and there, through email. We never get to sit down together to plan, and it's very difficult.
I find the same challenges in my school. Although I co-teach with the autistic support teacher, really the only collaboration that we have is she looks up my lesson plans on Friday afternoon to see what kind of support she needs to provide to the students that we share. We are so limited. In years past, she and I have had prep times together. The scheduling didn't work out this year. I teach in a very, very large elementary school. We have 7 sections of every grade level from K through 6.
Whoa.
So it is really hard for our principals to schedule, and it causes further problems for us. So I feel the same way about that.
It's difficult.
It is.
So I'm hearing a clear need for finding time and pockets of opportunity for collaboration. Um, do we want to like think for a moment about potential solution? Because it seems like it'd be kind of pointless to take this class and be like, yay, collaboration's great, but you walk away with no solution. So, have you seen or experienced any solutions to not having common time slot in the day? Are there other creative ways or solutions that work around not having common time in the schedule?
I know at Upper Dublin High School, they don't really have time to meet per se, but sometimes the administration provides substitutes for a day to allow the teachers to come together and collaborate. So that's one way where I've seen that. But then another, I guess, example would be if teachers choose to meet after school at, say, the Upper Dublin has an Upper Dublin UDAC meeting. I don't know if you get a collaboration meeting among English teachers, science teachers, you name it, and they just shoot out ideas and answer questions and collaborate that way.
Hmm.
There's also like what we're doing right now. I mean, I feel it could be beneficial for teachers to collaborate over this medium too.
Okay, so we don't want to drive half an hour out of our way after working all week, but Google Hangout, you can jump on Google Hangout on Saturday morning, even while your kids are like, if you have children, I don't know if you have children, but like, if you can carve out some time where you're not spending that time in the car. One of the main like selfish reasons for making this like an online course for me honestly was like I need more time in the day where I'm not traveling to different meetings or trying to see different people, and like I'm in my home and like you're in your home and time is precious to you as well, and asking you to drive to Arcadia once. Hi,
Hi.
welcome to our Google Hangout. We're just discussing ways that teachers can find common planning time if it does not exist in the schedule. So I think I hope someone is taking some leadership and jotting these ideas down in the notes section. But I think using Google Hangouts, meeting outside of the school time, asking your supervisor or your principal for substitute support so you can actually have some time to do quality planning. Are there any other ideas that you've seen that have worked?
I think that the issue is like just time. Like I don't even think I know some of my coworkers would not be willing to even do something like this. So I feel like it's not
No,
so
I
much
agree.
like I'm like eager and want to do things like I would stay after school or whatever. I'm willing to work with people, but it's like I co-taught with a special ed teacher last year. We had common planning time, and she was always just like couldn't be bothered to talk about what I wanted to do. So I feel like as much as we might want to like do things, it's like it comes down to the people you're working with. That wasn't really a solution. That was pretty negative, but
No. I think I want this to be a genuine conversation, and if that's been your experience, again, like like I don't wanna seem eternally hopeful. Sometimes I get down about things I face in my own work too, but I try to remain solutions oriented just get through the work. So if you're facing a colleague that is reluctant to engage with you, are there strategies for that? Like have you tried that and have you found a solution to work with a colleague that is less than willing to um, collaborate with you? That's a very genuine thing that teachers face. Like, how do we address that? We're
That's a good
solving.
question.
We're like, oh God, this just got real. Like, oh my God.
I mean, it's hard because especially if like when I push in, the English teachers have been teaching that for 9 or 10 years, and they're used to doing what they do, and to try to get them to take extra planning time so that we can collaborate, it's difficult. They expect me to just come in and kind of go with the flow.
So so here's what so let me say it this way. What would it look like if um if you opened up um if you opened up the definition of mentorship or collaboration with more than just who's in the building, right? So Sandy, like, I don't know if you know about chat, but it's like this Twitter chat that happens on Monday nights for English teachers,
Hmm.
and hundreds and thousands of English teachers around the country come together, and they often find opportunities for collaboration across country.
Hmm.
And they find mentorships and solutions and innovative ideas and solutions for the problems that they're facing in the classroom that aren't necessarily coming from their immediate colleagues. I know we're talking about like uh, support people who should be working closely with us, but I
Hmm.
want to sort of expand the definition of colleague, mentor, and collaboration beyond just the four walls of your classroom or even the physical space that is your school community. So, for example, Kira, a lot of you mentioned Kira, so I'm just thinking of her because she's on my mind. Kira Baker Doyle, some of you have been taught by her. She's a professor at Arcadia. I'm a high school English teacher, and on the surface, we wouldn't have a lot in common. But we were on a panel once together, and we were like, "Oh my God, we're excited about the same thing, like teacher leadership and teacher agency and networks and how collaboration could transform our practice." And since then, we've done a lot of work that has led up to this connected learning cert and the idea of this class and the fact that this class even exists is a testament to the connection that we've built over time. And in some ways, Kara is my friend. In some ways, Kara is my mentor. In some ways, Kara is my colleagues. In some ways, Kara could be like considered my boss because she like is in charge CERT program. So I just wanna think about like how can you use blogs or Twitter or Facebook or any network that can connect you to other people who are doing similar work in class. So I want to kind of put that idea out there. When you hear that, what comes to your mind? Is that feasible? Have you experienced that kind of connection that goes beyond your immediate classroom community?
Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Have you experienced a connection that goes beyond your immediate like class or school community? Like, have you found a mentor or a colleague that you could possibly work with?
Well, I know for me, I actually, just randomly looked up teacher blogs from my immediate area, and I decided to, like, I guess, observe based on what I saw on this teacher's blog. So based on that, I was able to connect with her and learn from her methods of English teaching. And I actually went to her classroom, observed, and I actually was able to secure her as a speaker in one of my classes.
That's amazing.
Just to go beyond,
Yeah. You
And
should definitely write about that on your blog, because I think a lot of people, like, I think a lot more people are willing to help us and enter our classrooms and our lives if we ask them, but we're often reluctant because we don't want to impose and we don't want to make people uncomfortable and we don't want to bother someone else. But really, I think people want to be valued and people want to feel needed. And when you ask them, like, can you help me with this, or can you help me understand this, or I'm struggling with this, what would you do? I think people are astounded and they're surprised and they're more than willing to help.
I actually did write a blog post about that. And actually, the last time I talked to her was in the fall, but recently she reached out to me to write a recommendation letter for her, which was out of nowhere because she just wanted a recommendation letter from me from a perspective of, someone that reads her blog as well as someone that actually observed her in the classroom. So it was kind of cool.
And I think I would be remiss if I didn't comment on what you just said. What's incredible is even though you may see yourself as a mentee, like taking more from her, here you had an opportunity to give something to her. You were able to write something for her that could possibly help her achieve her goal. So I think, again, to go back to that Adam Grant idea of give and take, I think a lot of times new teachers are like, well, I don't have anything to give. Well, no, that's not true. You surprisingly have a ton of expertise and enthusiasm and energy, and just the fact that if you um, go and like learn from someone, it may actually bring like new energy into their classroom and their work because they're like, oh my God, someone's finally paying attention to what I'm doing, and I've been doing this for years. So I think oftentimes times as new teachers we're like, well, I don't have anything to give. I'm only here to take. But that's not true. Like, you might be amazing at finding like online resources, or you might be amazing at connecting like music to your curriculum, and your mentor teacher may not have that same expertise, and you could share how you do that. So. Should we, it's about 7:35. Should we turn our attention to the connected learning PDF summary? Because a lot of people are like, I took this class because of connected learning. I'm into connected learning. So I don't want to overlook that piece because I think that's an important part of all of this. I think the way I think about this class is, I think I think the base of this work is our own connected learning, and on top of it, it builds our students' connected learning. So if we can experience, model, be passionate about connected learning, then our students' learning can sort of rise from that strong foundation. So why don't we look at that piece for a moment, and why don't you, since I've been talking a lot, why don't you guys like raise like one observation and one question at least, and if you have more, I'd love to hear those as well. Why don't we take a moment to think about what you may have taken notes on, or maybe highlighted or thought about? Why don't we do that for a moment?
I actually wasn't able to get that link to work.
No?
No.
If
Oh,
you
Page not found.
if you were able, if you look at where Minu wrote the piece, it says click here to launch. If you click that, that link works, not the link.
I did the same thing.
There you go. Okay.
When I read the article, what stuck out to me was the core values that educational opportunities should be available to all. Everyone should be engaged and have their contributions valued. Learning becomes meaningful through relationships, peer-supported, interest-powered, academically oriented. And that all struck me because that should be our goal, always. And it's just a question of how do we get there all the time.
Where? Okay, I'll wait to hear from others, and then I have some follow-up thoughts and questions, Sandy.
I think what really resonated with me was the interest-powered piece. As in, when students are really interested in something, there's higher level engagement going on. So that really resonated with me in my experience with students. And then a question I had, I guess it's more an observation too. I never thought about connected learning in the sense of equity and diversity as far as the economic achievement gap. So I wanted to know what everyone else thought about that as well.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties in with those core values that I found so interesting because it is a very connected.
Mm-hmm.
What really helped out was that image on page. Hold on. I believe the last page. No, not the last page. It was the one where the three circles with interest, academic, and peer culture, and it points to the middle, saying that's connected learning.
Yeah, that's page 5.
That was a great visual for me to understand what it meant because, to tell you the truth, when I thought of connected learning before I read this article, I thought of connected learning purely on the basis of technology and how students or teachers use technology to their advantage in the classroom. But based on this article, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I too thought it was just technology, and I submitted my whole paper, I told Mina earlier, and now I have to redo it because it is so much more.
The part where it kind of describes like why educational reform is necessary and all the social change, that's something I think about a lot. Like, I see these kids just like so overwhelmed by like media and like, I mean, I like had a cell phone in high school, but it didn't have the internet, and they're just like a whole new generation of kids that were like have had cell phones in their hand from the day they were born practically, and like how is that going to affect, like, if we're not using it in like an academic way, all they're really using it for is like recreation and like whatever. It's all like Instagram pictures, and like we should be using that to educate them about things that matter. I mean, at least maybe not to them right now, but like I personally need to find ways to use cell phones for like good, not evil, because I mean they're not going away, and the kids, I feel like I could be using them in a more useful way.
Okay.
We had, for election day today, we had a professional development opportunity, and my principal introduced a website to us, Padlet. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. But it was interesting because it was put up on the board for us, the teachers. We each, just logged on to the website through the link that was provided to us, and we all started typing information into it. It was coming up on the screen that my principal had, and I turned to a coworker and I said, "Oh, this would take forever if we did it with the kids." And she said, "No, it wouldn't. They're so much more knowledgeable when it comes to technology than we are." And I mean, even being in my late 20s, I can't do half of the things that they can do. So I think that they're so much more knowledgeable and they're so much more connected when it comes to technology that it really is a wonderful resource for them and for us to share with them.
I have to interject, though, that I think, and I see it teaching in a small rural school especially, that sometimes we assume that students are so much more connected and sometimes they're really not. So many of my students do not have computers at home, or they're still running WordPerfect on their systems at home, that they're that outdated and old. So there's also that gap between the one who have and the ones who have not.
I think that kind of plays into like the social justice piece too. Like not that you couldn't bring the world to your kids in different ways, but technology is obviously a big piece. But if students can't afford technology or you don't have technology at your school, then that's kind of it'd be difficult to teach connected.
Definitely. And my school has a lot of technology, like it's one-to-one at my school, but they can't take them home.
Right.
So, you know, teachers make assignments, write this paper, and they expect it to be typed in MLA format, and kids don't have the systems at home to do that.
So, I just added in the connected learning notes section of the Google Doc a name. His name is Douglas Rushkoff, and he's a internet historian, if there is such a thing, but he's a public intellectual who thinks about technology and how technology affects us and how technology affects teens, especially. He did this really long time ago. He did this amazing um, frontline PBS piece about technology and teens. That's sort of like the seminal work. When nobody was thinking about technology, he was paying attention to that. And I think someone looked this up if I'm wrong, but I think he recently published a book called Program or Be Program. And his key message is that kids should not just consume content on the internet, but that kids should create content for the internet, for themselves, for others. So I made a note to myself as a example of a practice from my classroom that I want to share with you. My kids produce a teen magazine made by teens for teens, and I'll share the link, and maybe I'll take 5 minutes during next week's hangout, and I'll talk to you about the process that we go through to produce that. But I think you guys are all saying and asking the right questions, that you see how pervasive and how ubiquitous technology is in the lives of your students, but how do you leverage that, and how do you make it do work for you in the classroom? And I want to share not just examples from my classroom, but examples from other classrooms in ways where teachers are thinking about technology as a powerful tool, not just like, oh, cool technology, but as a powerful tool that pushes kids' thinking, but also gives students an opportunity to publish and connect with authentic audiences for which they could be making things for, whether it's through writing or through hacking or through making, whatever the means might be. So I'll definitely make sure to include that in our next week's class. In what ways is connected learning happening in your classrooms, or in classrooms that you have observed in your educational practice? Um, in what ways does connected learning seem familiar to things that you have done or you have seen in other classroom, and in what ways is connected learning like new, or like it's making you have new connections that you have not had before? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't really think I am a connected teacher, I guess. Um, I tried to have kids, like, when I student taught, not very successfully, make, like, music videos about how to write linear equations. It
Mm-hmm.
was, like, fun, and they really enjoyed it, but I don't know how well it assessed them on how to write a linear equation, so I feel like it didn't really serve its purpose, but I feel like since then I was kind of discouraged because I was like, this is kind of, I wasted like 2 weeks. I don't know.
I think that's an important part of like when we try things and they don't work, like what do we do with that experience? I think that's a really interesting point that you bring up. I hope we talk about that tonight or in our future conversations.
I think what I'm struggling with
Yeah.
too is my experience in the classroom is that when not used properly, technology can be a distraction rather than a tool. So, how to focus that student energy into the project so that technology can be really effective.
Mhm. Do you guys have policies around cell phones in your classrooms and your in your schools? And if so, what are they?
My school doesn't allow cell phones. If we see them, we're supposed to take them,
Oh wow. Okay.
and then they lose them for the day.
Hmm. Okay.
Mainly
I,
because, I mean, the kids have access to computers in every classroom.
Okay.
And so they don't want them using cell phones because mostly the kids are texting.
Okay.
But now in the special ed classrooms, in the resource room, we do allow kids to listen to music on their cell phones.
Hmm.
If they're working quietly, it tends to help them stay on track a little bit
Okay.
better.
Okay.
My kids all have cell phones in their hands, and it's like a constant struggle to just ask them to put it away.
Okay.
And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I call home, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I was using it at the beginning of the year to use just for Remind 101
Yeah. Yeah.
to tell kids homework, which that was it mostly like failed because I would forget to do it, and then they'd be like, "Well, you didn't tell us the homework," and I would be like, "That's just a backup in case you didn't write it down. That's not like for you to rely on." So
Yeah.
I kind of stopped. It was more my fault than theirs, but it was effective when I was doing it.
Okay.
I only teach third grade, so I would say out of my 21 kids, maybe 2 have cell phones, and they know that they know they have to stay in their bag the whole time. So it's not really there's no opportunity for them to use it in third grade.
Um, I think one of the things that I think about with cell phones and students is that when we restrict students' access or use of it, we're not really winning that battle, right? Like
No.
they, you know, like they can look at you and like how many kids have you seen smile while looking down, right? Like
Yeah.
because they just read a text that made them smile and you're like, I know there's a cell phone there.
Yep.
Nobody like looks down, you know, and smiles. So I think if we do the policing and the restrictive path, like I don't think we're really going to win that battle. But I do see hope in trying to um, just teach like common human decent like communication skills that like if I'm on this Google Hangout with you, like I probably should not check my phone unless like it's an absolute emergency because I am committed to being part of this community, this online classroom community for an hour and that's all we have time for and that's what I've committed to doing. So none of you were like on your cell phones during this, and it was like, that's nice. Like you're all present, mostly present, and you're like engaging in this conversation. So what would it look like if we asked our kids like, hey, like for a few minutes while I'm giving instructions or I'm giving I'm sharing something with you, could you not be on your phone? And then for the time that's on their own when they're supposed to be working, like really let them deal with or let them acquire the skills of how they should handle cell phones. Because I feel like if we don't teach kids the boundaries of when cell phones in a public space are acceptable and when they're not, I feel like we're doing them a disservice. because they have to, go to college and eventually a workplace where they have to figure out those boundaries too, right?
Most adults do
Absolutely.
have boundaries.
We're missing a teachable moment.
Yeah. So I feel like I feel like cell phones can be very powerful in the classroom. One year, I had ninth grade students make public service announcements for local nonprofits in the area, and I worked at a school where like cell phones were not allowed. Like you were supposed to take them if you saw a cell phone. And my kids were contacting these agencies, these nonprofit organizations, and serving as their like creative agencies that was like making products for them, and they were like having actual conversations with like executive directors and like communication directors and being like, what are your colors? Do you have a theme? Like, what would you like? And they were like having these like amazing conversations, and like I think somebody like walked in the classroom and saw like kids working and being loud, and laptops were out, and kids were clustered in groups, and a couple of kids were like making calls, and they were like, what the heck is going on here? And like if I just describe it you that way, that sounds like a class that's not on point and a teacher that's not on point. But if you really like delve deep and spend time in that community, like some amazing work was being done in that ninth grade classroom. So I think we have to like flip the punitive mode to like a problem solving mode, like in what ways can technology lift our practice and bring relevant connections to our classroom and for our students. And I don't think there are any easy answers. Like what works in one classroom may not work in another classroom. What works in one school may not work in another school. And I think the key is for each teacher to find that solution for him or herself, right? Like what's permitted in your classroom may not be permitted in mine, but I think finding ourselves and finding our levels of comfort, I think, is really, really important, right? Whenever I do presentations, I always ask this question. I say, could you please hold up the first thing you touched this morning, first object that you touched this morning? And every single person holds up their cell phone. And
Wow.
and you do too, because it's your alarm clock. It's like, hey, did my like significant other text me? Did they get home safely? Right? Like, so I think if we're allowed to do that, if that's how our lives work, like I think we have to be mindful of how our students' lives work too. So that's the argument I guess I'll make tonight. We only have 5 minutes remaining in our hangout. Are there questions about next week or about the goal statement assignment or anything else that's on your mind that I can clear up?
My question is, because I already
Hello? Oh my God, that was so scary.
yeah,
Oh, weird.
That was so weird. I think we broke Google. Oh my God, all these brainy ideas. I think we broke Google. Your question was?
it's because I already submitted and now I need to revise it to broaden my discussion of connected. I don't see how I can do that. Should I just email it to you?
Yeah, that's okay. You can just email it to me. That's fine.
Okay.
And you should expect the second module to be up sometime by tomorrow. So if you are one of those people who likes to like work ahead and you want to get it done before the weekend starts or something, I'll have the resources and the links and the readings up by tomorrow.
So is it like one module a week, or is that the
Yeah,
idea?
I
Okay.
think that's what I'm shooting for. Does that work?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I don't like,
Yeah.
and this is true in my own classes, like I don't assign work just to assign work. So I'm hoping that all of the readings and the work that you're doing is relevant and hopeful and hopefully helpful, and it's actually helping you do the work that you want to do in the world.
And the what is it called? The parking lot?
Yeah.
Do you want us to post in there weekly, or is that just in case we have
No,
something we want to share?
that's just for our notes here, and I'll post them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll post them online for people who weren't able to make it. I'll post them on Blackboard, so if you want to go
Okay.
back and review them,
Okay.
you can. And then anything else you have questions about, please feel free to email me. If you haven't gotten the book, I posted a link to get the chapter 1 off Heinemann's site, and you can download the first chapter off Heinemann's site.
Just so everyone knows, I ordered my book from Amazon Sunday night, and I got it in the mail this afternoon. So
I did
it's
too.
really fast from Amazon. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
All right, go Amazon.
I have a question. So I just got my book today, so obviously I didn't get through all my readings for this week. Do you expect us for each unit that we complete the readings by Tuesday so we can have a good dialogue?
No, I mean that would be ideal, but I understand that it's on the earlier side of the week and you may not get to it. But I was also thinking that it's after the weekend, so you might. The book isn't very long. It's like 100 pages, and some people have like read it in one sitting. So like you might end up doing that. Like you might not even realize it that you just keep reading. And you might be done in like one sitting. So yeah, it would be ideal if you read it by Tuesday, but I understand sometimes that you will not be able to do so.
And is there somewhere that you want us writing about, like responses to the reading?
Yeah, I posted, and I don't know if you saw it. I created a discussion forum on Blackboard where I said, please post like an observation or a question or basically start a dialogue. But I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
The parking lot, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then obviously sharing each other's like blog links will hopefully create more of a dialogue as well.
Where would you like us to share our blog links?
I'm going to include in week 2 a place where you can submit your blog link. Like there will be a submission spot.
Is the blog just supposed to be about the readings, or like?
Yeah, about the readings, about our conversations that will happen on a weekly basis, about things that you're observing in your own life. Like if you see something that doesn't sit well with you in the classroom, that might be a great moment to write about. Or if you see something or experience something in the classroom that you're like really energized by, like that would be a great moment to write about. So it's like life, reading, and our conversations.
Okay. Are we also supposed to like there's another assignment thing for reading the introduction and forward?
That was just for people who like may have not gotten the book and like couldn't access it, but they could on the Amazon page.
So we should submit like a reflection on reading that, or?
No, no, I think this week was just a goal statement, and a blog entry per week is sufficient.
Okay.
I think if you generally look at the blog entry like one per week, sort of in capturing maybe like sort of like a processing piece or a reflection piece for all that you're thinking about that week, that might be a good way to capture what you're learning for yourself even, if that makes sense.
It does.
So are we okay? Is this gonna work? I'm saying that you should like come to like 3 out of the 6 Google Hangouts, but if you want to come every week and hang out, they'll be Tuesday nights at 7, but I understand if, you know, 1 week you can't make it. But the more people we have, the better I think our discussions will be. So if you can make it, that'd be awesome. Plus, you'll have something to like write about because hopefully people will raise interesting questions and points.
Mina, do you prefer for us to email you at the Arcadia email or at your Gmail or?
Yeah, either one is fine. I get them all in like one email place. Like I use a email app where all of my addresses get collected. So either way is fine. Whatever's comfortable for you. Arcadia email problem has been worked out, so there shouldn't be any problem. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for helping me kick off the class. Please follow Blackboard closely, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer any question you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.